In the remote countryside, nestled between a dense forest and mist-shrouded hills, stood an ancient manor known as Blackwood Estate. The house had a reputation, one that sent chills to the spines of locals. Whispers spoke of unexplained happenings, voices heard in the dead of night, and figures glimpsed from the corners of one's vision. Despite its dilapidated state, the manor had a peculiar allure for thrill-seekers, paranormal investigators, and the occasional skeptic. Elena Matthews was none of those. She was a history professor, drawn to Blackwood Estate for its rich and tragic history. Built in the late 1800s by the wealthy Blackwood family, the manor had been abandoned for nearly a century, following a series of mysterious deaths. Rumors of curses, hauntings, and madness surrounded the estate, but Elena was more interested in uncovering the truths hidden within its crumbling walls. Accompanied by her childhood friend, Sam, and his girlfriend, Clara, Elena set out on a chilly autumn morning. Sam, ever the skeptic, joked about ghosts, while Clara, who believed in the supernatural, carried a bundle of sage and protective crystals. "You'll thank me when the ghosts leave us alone," Clara said, her tone defensive but her smile playful. "I'll thank you when we're not wasting time on ghost stories," Sam retorted. Elena's focus was elsewhere. The closer they got to the manor, the heavier the air seemed to become. A sense of unease settled over her as they turned onto the overgrown driveway. The house loomed ahead, its once majestic facade now a shell of broken windows, sagging wood, and ivy-covered stone. The sight sent a shiver down her spine, but she couldn't tell if it was fear or excitement. "This is it," she whispered as they stepped out of the car. The trio stood in silence, gazing at the house. The air was unnaturally still, the only sound the rustling of leaves in the faint breeze. Clara clutched her crystals tighter, and even Sam's confident smirk faltered. Inside, the manor was a labyrinth of dust and decay. The grand staircase, though rotting, still carried an air of majesty. Chandeliers hung precariously from the ceiling, their crystals clouded with grime. The faded wallpaper seemed to watch them, its patterns twisting and shifting in the flickering light of their flashlights. "This place is incredible," Elena murmured, running her hand over a crumbling banister. "So much history, and so much creepy," Clara muttered, her eyes darting nervously. They set up camp in what had once been the drawing room. Sam had brought sleeping bags and a portable stove, while Clara arranged her crystals in a protective circle. Elena spread out her research-old maps, photographs, and journal entries from the Blackwood family. As the night deepened, strange things began to happen. The air grew colder, and the faint sound of whispers drifted through the room. At first, they dismissed it as the wind, but the whispers grew louder, more distinct. "Did you hear that?" Clara asked, her voice trembling. Sam rolled his eyes. "It's just the wind. Old houses make noise." But Elena wasn't so sure. The whispers didn't sound random. They sounded like words, just out of reach. She strained to hear, her pulse quickening. "Elena," the voice whispered, so faint it could have been her imagination. "Elena." She froze. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Sam asked, annoyed. "Someone said my name." Clara's face paled. "I told you this place was haunted." The next day, they explored the manor in daylight. hoping to shake off the eerie events of the night. The library was a treasure trove of dusty tomes and journals. Elena was drawn to a leather-bound diary belonging to Margaret Blackwood, the last known resident. Margaret's entry spoke of a happy life that gradually descended into terror. She wrote of hearing voices, seeing shadows, and feeling a presence watching her. The final entry was chilling. The voices grow louder every night. They whisper secrets I cannot understand, but I feel their anger. They want something from me. I fear I will not survive the night. The date of the entry matched the day Margaret's body had been discovered, lifeless and contorted, in the drawing room. "This isn't just a ghost story," Elena said, her voice shaking. "Something terrible happened here." That night, the whispers returned, louder and more insistent. They seemed to come from the walls, the floor, the very air. Shadows moved at the edges of their vision, darting away when they tried to look directly. Clara's protective circle seemed to offer no comfort. She clutched her crystals and chanted softly, her voice trembling. Sam tried to keep things light. "It's just our imaginations. This place is messing with us." But even he couldn't hide his fear when the whispers formed words. "Get out," they hissed. "Leave now." The temperature plummeted, and the lights on their flashlights flickered. A loud crash echoed through the house, followed by the sound of footsteps on the floor above. "We're not alone," Clara whispered, her eyes wide with terror. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, Elena led the group to the source of the footsteps. The attic was dark and suffocating, filled with forgotten relics of the past. In the center of the room stood a mirror, its surface cracked and blackened. As they approached, the whispers grew deafening. The mirror seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. Elena felt drawn to it, despite the fear clawing at her. "Don't," Clara pleaded, grabbing her arm. But it was too late. Elena touched the mirror, and the world shifted. She found herself in a twisted version of the manor, where shadows moved with malevolent intent. The whispers were now screams, and dark figures closed in around her. Sam and Clara's voices pulled her back. She gasped for air, her body trembling. "We have to leave," she said, her voice barely audible. "They won't let us go if we stay." The trio fled the manor, but the whispers followed. The shadows seemed to stretch out of the house, reaching for them. They didn't stop running until they were miles away. Even then, the experience haunted them. Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed her. The voices continued to whisper, faint but persistent. She never returned to Blackwood Estate. But the shadows and the whispers never truly left her. Epilogue. Years later, Elena's research on the Blackwood family was published, earning her acclaim. But she knew the truth. The voices, the shadows, the malevolent presence, they were real. And she lived in constant fear that one day the voices would call her back.